I'm rolling the dice today. Yeah, I know. You thinking, I always look like a risk taker. I look like a guy that always takes all the chances and makes it happen. Well, I got really bad food poisoning a couple of weeks ago. And for the first time, I've stepped out into the great big world and eaten seafood. We will see. If you do not see me for the next 3 days on Zealandism, well, that is what happened the last time I got food poisoning. And those mussels that I had tonight, they tasted really good. So having paid none of the potential consequences, I'm going to go ahead and say it was worth it. I offer to you today more than just ruminations about my potential demise. No, today I offer you something glorious. Because we are often talking about the big leagues, the big stars, the guys with the Ferraris and the Bugattis and the Lamborghinis and the $500,000 a week. Well, this time, we're not talking about that. This time, we're just talking about good old glorious football nonsense. And in order to find that in aces and spades, you've got to head to the Asian under-23s. That's probably not where you expected to go, but you know, if I'm taking your ass to the Asian under-23s to talk about something, whatever happened was freaking nuts. And it was. This was a match between South Korea and Indonesia. You'd be lying to yourself if you said you knew anything about the South Korean or Indonesian U-23s. But what you do need to know for the purposes of understanding and appreciating the rest of this video is that they are playing in the Asian Cup semifinal, like the under-23 Asian Cup semifinal. And Indonesia brought its A game because the first goal Indonesia scores like 15 minutes into the game is an absolute curling banger that'd make Jack Grealish cry tears of joy. Although this guy's calves are definitely worse. Now, I'm describing it to you because I'm going to play the video and it might just go ahead and get blocked, but I want to try and show it to you if I can. Okay, here we go. So we got our boy here taking a swing, curling that bad boy into the top corner like he knew what he was doing all day. Now, South Korea did get a reply. Granted, it was against the run of play because, you know, your boy watched the extended highlights. What the hell else am I going to be doing all day? And against the run of play, they had an own goal. It was like a header that went off a dude right next to him and caught the goalkeeper out of position. Well, he wasn't out of position. He was going to stop the initial header. You know, it's one of those awful plays. But, you know, South Korea was able to find the ball in the back of the net. And then Indonesia showed up again. Right before halftime, they hit a long ball into space. A guy runs in behind, collects the ball, and then slots it home to put Indonesia up 2-1. I mean, this is a 1-on-2 here. Easy does it. Indonesia 2-1. And I'm going to be honest, there's some other highlights in this match where Indonesia is absolutely cooking. And into the second half, South Korea had gotten so frustrated because Indonesia was playing out of the back that one of South Korea's forwards fouled the Holy Spirit out of one of Indonesia's defenders while trying to chase and press and got a deserving red card after a VAR review, which meant Indonesia was up 2-1 and up a man going into stoppage time. So, of course, Indonesia got caught in the counter. They got caught horribly in the counter. A beautiful throw out for the South Korean goalkeeper that created a 2-on-2. South Korea executes the 2-on-2 perfectly, ties the match, and all of a sudden, despite a couple of big chances, well, one big chance for Indonesia in extra time, we end up in a penalty shootout. South Korea in its under-23s having been roundly outplayed by Indonesia in their 23s, but still, even a man down, they've managed to scrap their way into a penalty shootout. Right, so we're headed to a penalty shootout between Indonesia and South Korea. And there is something important that you might not have thought you needed to remember that actually ends up being important, because South Korea is going into this penalty shootout with 10 guys, while Indonesia is going into this shootout with 11 guys. So all of a sudden, South Korea is operating on a different penalty shootout timeline than Indonesia. That wouldn't normally be important because obviously in a penalty shootout, you know, it's best of five. Not best of five, but it's like you take five and then if you're still tied, you keep going in sudden death. But I think you can tell where this is heading. We start with Kim, who scores a penalty, then Sanata scores a penalty. Then we have Lee scores a penalty, Arhan scores a penalty. Then we have Hwang, who scores a penalty, then Struck scores a penalty. Then Paik Sang-hoon scores a penalty, then Ferdinand scores a penalty, so it's 4-4, nice and even. Then Byon scores a penalty, and Hubner scores a penalty, nice even, 5-5. And Kang Sang-yoon misses. But Fikri misses, so we keep going. That's right, after 6 penalties, it's all even. We had our first miss at 1 apiece, and that meant that there was an opportunity to win the game here for Indonesia, which was seized with 0 hands. So let's keep going, shall we? How about the 7th taker? We've got Zhang, who scores. That means Indonesia has to score, and it does. Schroyer. That's the second Indonesian that scored when they had to. The 8th penalty, Hong and Rio, they both scored. Easy, obviously. Cho, and then my favorite, Ferrari. And then we get to the last South Korean penalty taker, which is Baek Jong-boom, and he scores. And then Ari scores, which brings us to the 11th penalty, which is Kim again, and he scores again. But here's where I fooled you. There's actually a rule in place where if you're going up against 10 penalty takers, then you actually get to select one person to remove from your penalty taking rotation. So Sananta is the person that takes the 11th penalty. We are now back to the start for both teams. That's right, these penalties at number 10, those are both the goalkeepers, and they both scored their penalties. And the first takers both succeeded a second time, but everybody knows taking a penalty the second time's harder than taking it the first time, so it was bound to happen. Lee Kong-hee, who scored the second penalty of the shootout, misses the 12th penalty of the shootout for South Korea, and I'll let Indonesia take it from here. And I'm mainly going to do that because the call on this is absolutely electric. Give it to me!
打门，超进了，比赛结束了。印度尼西亚队凭借12轮的点球鏖战，最终击败了韩国队。
You can't not, if you don't feel something listening to that, I don't trust you as a human being. What a call. What a moment for Indonesia. After 12 penalties, the second taker taking a second time. He scores, and Indonesia wins, and will now be headed to the... Remember when I said they were in the semifinals? Apparently they're in the quarterfinals. I don't know. I just found out this tournament was going on today because I found out that this match was freaking awesome. So they're going to the semifinals. Japan beat Qatar in the other quarterfinals. So they're waiting for the winner of Iraq, Vietnam. We've got Uzbekistan or Saudi Arabia's U23s to match up with Indonesia. I got to say, though, there were some backheel passes. There were some long-range rips and some brilliant passing out of the back. I got my boys Indonesia to take this one all the way. They looked fantastic. They made South Korea, which is a very good national team setup, look second rate in an Asian competition. All right, man. That doesn't happen. These boys from Indonesia have got some game. They're out here making some plays. They're making hay, right? I'm down for it. They deserve this win, and they got it, whether it was the quarterfinal or the friggin' semifinal. I mean, 21 shots to 8. Outpossessed them. More passes, better passing accuracy, less cards, obviously. Oh, my goodness. Dare I say Indonesia World Cup run in the next 20 years? I mean, hey, Asia's got 8 teams in the World Cup now with the new 48 team format. Why not Indonesia, right? This is the type of run and type of result and type of performance that shows you that at least Indonesia's trending in the right direction. Big ups to the Asian U23 tournament and a 13-shot penalty shootout, because who doesn't love that? Not in Football Manager, in real life. I didn't even know that was possible. Cool. Hope you have a good one.